Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Marlin.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
Evancho.
Yes.
And that ordinance is declared adopted. Next one, please.
An ordinance appropriating State of Ohio Marks Radio Grant.
Mr. Vancho.
Motion to suspend.
Mr. Conaway.
Second the motion.
Roll call on the suspension, please.
Conaway.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Evancho.
Yes.
Marlin.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes. Mr. Conaway.
Motion to pass.
Mr. Wolverton.
Second motion.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Marlin.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Conaway.
Yes.
Evancho.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
And that ordinance is declared adopted. Next one, please.
An ordinance amending Chapter 95 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Cambridge, and this is the income tax ordinance.
Mr. Wolverton.
Motion to suspend.
Mr. Marlin.
Second to suspend?
Roll call on the suspension.
Marlin.
Yes.
Evancho.
Yes.
Conaway.
Yes.
McMillan.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes. Mr. Vancho
Motion to pass.
and Mr. Conaway.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McMillan.
Yes.
Conaway.
Yes.
Marlin.
Yes.
Evancho.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
And that ordinance is declared adopted and heavy. Okay. We'll move on, but we'll give Mr. Vancho, who's got an important meeting to attend, time to excuse himself.
I appreciate that, and I apologize for the administrators here from Cambridge City Schools. I very much personally am very supportive of the Cambridge City Schools, and I apologize for missing your presentation tonight. But I do have a conflict, unfortunately, at the hospital and need to excuse myself, so thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, now moving backwards. City Attorney, Mr. Ferguson.
No formal report, but we do have a noteworthy birthday in the house, from what I understand. Margot Johnson caught me at Reesbeck's today, so this may not be the exact day, but Mr. Kassler is the big 6-0. So congratulations, happy birthday.
Any of you guys in the choir over there? We could entertain a song. Communications.
I have a request from the city auditor asking for a request to transfer funds within the USDA loan building fund.
Ms. McMillan?
Motion to refer to finance?
Mr. Marlin?
I second that motion.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion's granted.
I have the monthly report, the minutes from the park board meeting, the monthly report from the municipal court and auditor and treasurer, as well as the 2017 annual report from Cambridge Municipal Court.
Mr. Marlin?
I make a motion, we accept and place on file.
Mr. Leonard?
I second that.
Didn't want to ignore you. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and that motion's granted. We will move to the audience portion. Anybody that wishes to address council may approach the microphone. Normally, we give a 5-minute, so please feel free. Also, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Michael Limer, and I live at 216 East Montford in Ada, Ohio. I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce myself. I'm the new director of the Guernsey County Public Library. So I just wanted to come and say hi, give you a face to remember, and encourage you, if there's any way the library can help the city and improve the lives of the people in the community, we're all in for that. So if any ideas, please reach out to me, and we'll see if we can work together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good to have you here. Ada, huh?
Yes,
Hi, Northern.
yes, exactly. I'm actually staying with my mother-in-law, Marietta, while my wife and son finish up the school year, and then they'll be
Gotcha.
joining us down
Yeah,
here. So.
Ada's the land of corn and more corn.
Flatland, soybeans, more soybeans than corn now. So,
Well, welcome. It's good to have you here. Thanks. Anybody else? Dan, sure. And by the way, you have more than 5 minutes. We'll waive that.
You may regret that.
Not at all.
John was in one of my marathon sessions a couple weeks ago went for, I think it was 47 minutes because they recorded it for YouTube. What's amazing is that thing has over 1,000 views already. It's interesting how the power of social media. I'm not a big Facebook guy, but it's amazing the power of social media. And these young group over here, they're starting to think, what's Facebook? They moved on from Facebook like 2 years ago to Snapchat, and there's some new program I heard about the other day, and I consider myself tech savvy, and I haven't even heard of that social media platform yet. But Mr. President, members of council, I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. Many of you have sat through sessions about our upcoming levy at Cambridge City Schools. Some of you actually sit on the steering committee for that. Greatly appreciate the support that we've received so far from the city administration and different individuals serving in those capacities with us. This evening, I passed out to you a levy rack card, and I'd like to just take a few minutes and go through that, somewhat speed reading a little bit, get through as much of that as I can, stay within those confines of time that you'd like for me to, and then offer any opportunity for a question and answer session and see where that conversation takes us from there. Before I jump into this card, one thing I would encourage everyone to do before they vote on May 8th is to become an educated voter. Most of us in this room would agree with that, and we hope that our public sees the benefit of that as well. Everyone's got an important decision to make anytime they're casting their personal vote on any issue. We hope that folks will take the time to become educated on a topic, and part of that education is listening to some of these different messages that we're giving in different places. One of the places we put this message is through a partnership with AVC Communication. They've done a nice job doing some videotaping for us and placing different things out on YouTube. There's a Facebook account, Citizens for the Future of Cambridge City Schools, where they are on a weekly basis releasing multiple videos, multiple 2 to 3 minute long videos that kind of highlight different aspects of what this levy is going to be. So if you're on Facebook or your kids or grandkids are on there, ask them to pull that Facebook account up for you. Take a look at some of those. Like I said, they're brief, 2 minutes, but there's some power there. Folks like Max Trier, Ricky Harvey, Heath Hayes, Norm Blanchard, to Regis Woods, to Steve Theo, giving just testimony on different aspects of this levy. Our mayor's on one of the videos, our treasurer and new assistant treasurer Ed Wright's on some of those. So please take the time, if you haven't done so, or encourage others who need to become more educated on the topic to take a look at those Facebook videos. On the white side of this levy rack card that I gave you tonight, and we have plenty of these, any of you who need more of these, we're more than willing to deliver them to you. On the white side of the card really gets into the financial aspect of what this levy is about. The ask is 9.7 mils for a 10-year term as an emergency operating levy for Cambridge City Schools. 9.7 mils becomes a confusing topic as you try to multiply out what a mil is. At the end of the day, it's $2.5 million that we're asking for in additional funds to help support Cambridge City Schools. Our district encountered significant federal and state cuts last year. We receive about 60% of our funding from the state of Ohio. Last year, for some reason, the state decided that Cambridge City Schools could endure the 4th largest cut out of all 600 plus school districts in the state of Ohio. From that, the federal government a few months later proceeded to cut our funding 17%. We made the necessary cuts, if you remember some of the conversation about redistricting our elementary schools and going from 3 elementaries to 2 elementaries, and some of the scalability that we were able to create and avoid significant layoffs through attrition, through people who retire or resign from the school district. We were able to not only make those financial obligations that were necessary, but we also believe that we've got better educationally. We believe we can provide a higher quality education in this new structure, and many people in our community agree with that. It had a little bit of a rocky start. We knew it would, but in general, that's gone quite well for us. From there, we've just got a decision to make. What do we want to offer as a school district here at Cambridge City Schools? And that's why that number, that 9.7 mils, is so big. Quite honestly, we could ask the community for a smaller number. But what I've heard from this community in the last 2 years is overwhelmingly a tremendous amount of pride, and a tremendous amount of pride saying that we never want to see Cambridge City Schools, we never want to hear that our Bobcats have become 2nd or 3rd or lower in comparison to other school districts in our area. Quite honestly, many of the districts in our area are benefiting from oil and gas industry, and quite frankly, Cambridge City Schools is not benefiting from oil and gas. Last year, we generated $6,400 in taxable in revenue from the oil and gas industry. A neighboring school district generated $1.8 million in tax revenue. Those are just 2 different conversations when you're talking about So through that pride, through that conversation, through those individual conversations that I've had with people in our community, people continuously are saying, we want Cambridge to be what Cambridge has always been known for. And that's tough to go back in time. It's difficult to try and go recreate what a district exactly looked like 20 years ago or 30 years ago. But in many ways, through perception issues and through reality issues, we've gotten to the point that we are falling behind in several areas. I'll put our academic education K-8 up against anyone else's in our area. In our high school, we have some shortcomings when it comes to programming and course offerings that we need to be providing. We have beautiful school facilities, but we need updates in those areas. Everything from performing arts to athletics to how we're funding our teachers needs to be updated. And quite honestly, on the backside on this blue, there's 14 points on there. I lump them into 5 different buckets. I look at school safety, I look at facilities, academics, athletics, and performing arts, and what are we able to provide better for our students at Cambridge City Schools. And many of these items are what came from those individuals in the community who have been talking to me since I started, saying, why don't we have shop? Why don't we have choir? Why don't we have a drama program? Why don't our athletic facilities look like other athletic facilities? Why is our band using instruments from the 1960s and the 1970s? Why aren't we more current? Why haven't we redistricted from 3 elementaries to 2 elementaries already? And a lot of those questions are just, I don't have necessarily an answer other than we haven't had the resources to provide that. And one thing that I continuously say to our community as they ask us about this levy is there's high expectations for our school district, and there should be high expectations, and this community should not decrease what those expectations are for our schools. We must find a way to meet those expectations. Quite frankly, though, there are several items where the expectations are higher than what the resources are available to provide for our students. So from that, we made the decision to not come out with a smaller millage levy, but we came out with a larger millage levy to try to not only fill the gap from those budget cuts that we endured last year, but to also bring back many things that we wanted to see in the community that makes us better from the safety standpoint, better from the academic standpoint, benefits our facilities, helps our athletic programs, and also assist in our performing arts. And if we can raise the bar, if we can raise the level of resources so that we can hit expectations in each of those 5 areas, I truly do believe we're providing a well-rounded education for our students here at Cambridge. On the front, on the white side of this card is from the from the auditor's website, I apologize. Auditor's website that gives a breakdown of the financial impact that it'll cost taxpayers. The auditor's office has also put an online calculator on their system. We typically don't engage in the conversation of what is it going to cost you individually. We would encourage everyone to go to that auditor's website and take a look at that. We're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can about what this ask really is, but we're also trying to not only be transparent on this white side as to what the financial impact of this will be for the district, but also what is the impact that it's going to have on students, many of which are sitting here in the audience tonight. I assume you're here for a class tonight? Yes, gotcha. Good, I'm glad to see you here.
We all go to Mideast.
You all go to Mideast? So you're here for Mrs. Wareheim's class?
Yeah.
I gotcha. I'm with you. So, but these are Cambridge students who have chosen to go to the Career Center and take advantage of those opportunities down there. But I would encourage every one of you to take a look at these 14 points to distribute this card out to other individuals. And if there's anybody out there who would like to meet and talk about any of these, I can go with about a 30-minute presentation to get through all 14 of these items to highlight what we want to be able to do with these funds that will help us provide a more well-rounded education for our students. With that, staying within your time constraints, what questions do you have?
Any questions, Mr. Kaufman? I've gotten to sit through the presentation several times, and it's still fascinating every time, the needs that we have here in Cambridge, and we certainly, I can't speak for all the council, but I speak for myself, and all the great, that level of support that we want to give you is the top that we can possibly offer, and the importance of getting this thing passed through. And not only has the impact on the students, but the whole economic standing of our town depends on our schools being that way, and we certainly hope that that you can get this thing passed, that the community can, as you said at Lions Club today, they can educate themselves to wrap their heads around it and find a way to support it, because it's awfully important. I mean, all the way through.
Bill, I do have a question.
Yes.
Appreciate your support.
This will also help provide the technology aspect for the city schools and the administration to bring us up to the 2020 and above for those needs, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
This is, in my opinion, this is imperative that we get something done here for the school district. Without the schools, we can't attract industry, and without industry, we can't go any further than what we already have. So you have my support fully.
Appreciate that.
Ms. McMillan?
I, again, would like to reiterate what you, Bill, and John have both said, that we do need to lend our support, and perhaps if you're not on the steering committee or anything, I'm sure that the school system, or the school system and the levy committee can use any help that they can get. I believe there is a pamphlet drop coming up,
Yeah, we're going to have 2 of those in April. We
and
plan
I'm
to do
sure
some
that they could probably use help with that
Absolutely.
as well. The more hands, the easier it is, the better, more visibility that we, even as elected officials, can give. Of course, you know, you have my support, but in a community is only as good as the school system, I feel, and these kids are our future, and we really need to get behind this thing and reinforce what good it will do for our community. So I know Dan and the committee will help or take any names or anything if anybody would like to help with anything.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Signs go to print tomorrow, so we'll have those in the next 2 weeks. We'll have those available, and then also we've got the levy rack cards, and we're planning a couple of mass literature drops that we'll do throughout the community on 2 Saturdays in April, and we're putting the final details of that together, and we'll make sure that we get that message out when those are.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Anybody else for the audience portion? Move on to new business. Anything under new business? Okay, we'll move on to miscellaneous. Ms. McMillan, you'll be able to have the duty of setting the time for finance.
Finance, and that's next Tuesday, which is... Next Monday. Or Monday, I'm sorry. Why am I on Tuesday?
April Fools.
Gosh, we're going into April. That's April 2nd, and that will be at 4:30. Finance.
And we don't have any other committees meeting, correct? Does anybody else have anything under miscellaneous? If not, Mr. Marlin,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
we're adjourned.